The movie kicks off with a group of kidnappers discovering that the police are tracking the suitcase containing the ransom money they've taken. To outsmart the police, the kidnappers split into two groups. One retrieves the ransom from a train, while the other group holds a young boy hostage. However, their plan hits a snag when the police locate the first group and corner them on the train. Meanwhile, a corrupt policeman named Chung-ho informs the group holding the boy about the police ambush. Despite this warning, they remain unfazed as they're skilled at evading law enforcement. As expected, the first group on the train manages to outmaneuver the police and escape. Following their escape, the kidnappers returned to their hideout, a secluded farm nestled deep within a forest. Among them are Saktae, the stern yet captivating leader, Ki-tae, a skilled driver who stutters, Jin-song, a meticulous planner, Bom-soo, a firearms expert, and Dong-bom, a proficient martial artist. Unable to secure a ransom, they contemplate killing the boy. However, Saktae, the leader, decides to spare the boy's life and assigns Youngju, a woman, to care for him. News of the police's failure to capture the kidnappers quickly spreads across the country, garnering attention as the Goblin Case. In short, 14 years later, Saktae and his gang rob a fancy house where the owner is getting a massage from a blind man. When the owner resists, they have to kill him. Thinking the masseuse is truly blind, they spare him and flee with their stolen goods. The police soon discover the robbery and pursue them. However, they're fooled by Hwayi, a member of Saktae's gang. As it turns out, Hwayi was once kidnapped by Saktae's criminal group. Instead of going to school, he was raised uniquely and learned skills from his five fathers. Disguised as a student, Hwayi helps Saktae and his gang evade the police. On his way home, Hwayi encounters a girl named Yukyun who inquires about his name in school. However, Hwayi remains silent and simply gives her an orange. Upon returning home, Hwayi receives praise from his five fathers for his successful role in the operation. Despite being criminals, Saktae and his gang treat Hwayi kindly, considering him as their own son. They no longer restrain Youngju, recognizing her role in caring for Hwayi since he was young. Even though Hwayi missed out on formal schooling, his five fathers imparted a diverse range of skills, including marksmanship. Additionally, he's trained in physical activities, yet his hidden talent lies in painting. One day, Jin-song, a member of Saktae's crew, receives a task from the corrupt cop, Chung-ho, to eliminate a priest named Yoon-tak. This is because the priest refuses to sell his property to a businessman named Jin. Meanwhile, the police investigating Saktae and his gang's robbery are stuck, as the sole witness is a blind man. To break the deadlock, a policeman named Jongmin is brought in to interrogate the blind man. In an unconventional approach, Jongmin picks up a small clue, noticing a scent resembling cactus plants, which leads him to suspect Saktae and his crew, who run a shop selling ornamental plants. Realizing the police have a lead, Chung-ho hurries to warn Saktae's crew to act swiftly before they're apprehended. The gang orchestrates another crime, marking Hwayi's inaugural involvement, where he's tasked with taking a life for the first time. Saktae assigns Hwayi to kill the blind mister. However, overcome with nerves during his maiden assassination attempt, Hwayi's trembling hands prevent him from completing the task. Despite Ki-tae successfully abducting the blind mister, Saktae doesn't hesitate to punish Hwayi for his failure, confining him to the basement. Saktae, known for his harsh demeanor, employs strict and disciplined methods to educate Hwayi, instilling fear in the young man. After resolving the issue with the blind mister, Saktae and his gang devise a plan with Chung-ho concerning the murder of Young-tak. Upon receiving payment upfront and locating Young-tak, they swiftly execute the assassination, bringing Hwayi along due to his crucial role in the plot. Hwayi carries out his task of infiltrating Young-tak's residence to facilitate Saktae and his gang's mission to eliminate him. While inside, Hwayi discovers an old photograph of a boy bearing a striking resemblance to himself as a child. Meanwhile, upon sensing an intruder in her home, Young-tak's wife hides and contacts her husband to return immediately. Hwayi, finding the wife's hiding spot, decides to conceal her presence from Saktae and his gang. Long story short, upon Young-tak's return home, he is swiftly subjected to severe beatings by Sok-tae and his gang. Meanwhile, Hwayi opts to help Young-tak's wife escape to safety. This enrages Sok-tae, who punishes Hwayi by demanding he kill Young-tak. Initially, Hwayi's hands tremble and the gun shakes, but after the first shot, he continues firing as if possessed. Following the execution, Sok-tae and his crew hastily flee the scene. Shortly after, Jong-min arrives at the crime scene to investigate Young-tak's murder and discovers a clue in the form of an umbrella inadvertently left behind by Hwayi. Tracking down information about the umbrella purchase leads Jong-min to Jin Song's ornamental plant shop. Meanwhile, Hwayi is visibly distraught and troubled after committing murder. He fixates on an old photograph he found at Young-tak's house, pondering his own identity. When Young-ju sees the photo, she recognizes the boy as Hwayi, the child she raised. Driven by curiosity about his past, Hwayi secretly ventures back to Young-tak's house in search of clues. However, when Young-tak's wife unexpectedly returns home, Hwayi retreats to an upstairs room to hide. Inside, he discovers a boy's belongings neatly arranged, along with a stack of newspapers detailing the kidnapping of a boy 14 years ago. To his shock, Hwayi realizes he was the abducted child. Hwayi experiences deep frustration upon realizing that he has unwittingly killed his biological father, Young-tak. Meanwhile, Young-tak's wife, devastated by her husband's death, attempts to take her own life. Learning of her intentions, Hwayi rushes to intervene, unwilling to lose the only family he knows. Meanwhile, Sok-tae and his gang become perplexed by Hwayi's disappearance. While they are away, Hwayi sneaks into Jin Song's office to confront him about his true identity as Young-tak's son. When Jin Song refuses to disclose the truth, Hwayi resorts to killing him, vowing revenge against his criminal mentors using the nefarious skills he acquired through a life of crime. Elsewhere, CEO Jin, who orchestrated Young-tak's murder, learns that Young-tak's wife is alive, halting their planned infrastructure project. To resolve the issue, Jin tasks his henchman, Ji-won, with finding a solution. Ji-won approaches Chung-ho and coerces him into ordering the assassination of Young-tak's wife. Faced with no alternative, Chung-ho instructs one of his men to carry out the hit at the hospital where Young-tak's wife is receiving treatment after her suicide attempt. However, the plan is thwarted as Hwayi consistently protects his mother. Realizing that he must avenge his mother and rid her of further threats from Sok-tae and his gang, Hwayi entrusts Yu-kyung with caring for his mother temporarily. Long story short, Hwayi covertly infiltrates Sok-tae and his gang's hideout to pilfer weapons. However, his actions are discovered by Bom-soo, leading to a fierce altercation. Despite the intense struggle, Hwayi manages to escape with some weapons and gear. Sok-tae and his crew give chase, resulting in a tense pursuit that culminates in their vehicle being wrecked in a violent collision, allowing Hwayi to slip away. Meanwhile, Jong-min uncovers clues regarding Hwayi's abduction by Sok-tae and his gang 14 years ago and endeavors to locate him. Later that night, Sok-tae receives a call from Hwayi, urging him to meet at the location of his kidnapping 14 years prior. Sok-tae and his gang swiftly head there, only to realize it's a trap set by Hwayi. Hwayi had previously informed CEO Jin that Sok-tae and his crew possessed information about Young-tak's wife. Upon hearing this, CEO Jin orders Ji-won and his men to confront Sok-tae's gang. When they converge at the designated spot, Hwayi immediately shoots one of Ji-won's men, sowing discord among them. Violent confrontations ensue, resulting in Sok-tae emerging victorious despite the losses of Bom-soo and Dong-bal. Meanwhile, Ki-tae discovers Hwayi's location and attempts to persuade him to cease his actions. Hwayi harbors no intentions of harming Ki-tae, as he considers him the closest and most compassionate person to him. However, tragedy strikes when Ki-tae accidentally falls from a height and is killed. Simultaneously, Sok-tae receives news from Chung-ho about locating Young-tak's wife and rushes to eliminate her. While still grieving Ki-tae's death, Hwayi receives a distressing call from Yu-kyung, informing him that his mother has been moved from her treatment room and that she is being pursued by Chung-ho, taking refuge in the restroom. Upon hearing this, Hwayi rushes to the hospital to rescue his mother and Yu-kyung. However, on the way, Hwayi gets into a car accident. Elsewhere, Jong-min obtains crucial evidence regarding the Goblin case and locates Saktae and his gang's hideout, where he encounters Youngju, who divulges everything to him. Upon reaching the hospital, Saktae swiftly eliminates Chung-ho and proceeds to Yoon-tak's wife's room. Saktae brandishes his weapon and confesses to molding Hwayi into a killer, attributing his actions to seeking revenge against Yoon-tak. Saktae discloses their shared past, revealing that he, Yoon-tak, Youngju, and Ki-tae grew up together in an orphanage. As a teenager, Saktae harbored feelings for Youngju, but she favored Yoon-tak. Feeling rejected, Saktae resorted to bullying Youngju and eventually embraced a life of crime. After his revelations, Saktae murders Yoon-tak's wife before departing. Meanwhile, despite being severely injured in the accident, Hwayi rushes to the hospital, feeling frustrated and enraged as he couldn't save his beloved mother. In another part of the city, Jong-min begins to suspect Hwayi's involvement with Saktae's gang and tries to track him down. However, Youngju, driven by maternal instincts, feels compelled to shield Hwayi, believing him to be innocent and merely following Saktae's orders. Eventually, Youngju resorts to knocking Jong-min unconscious to protect Hwayi. Shortly afterward, Saktae returns home and subjects Youngju to torture over a trivial matter. Just then, Hwayi arrives and immediately aims a gun at Saktae. Unexpectedly, Jong-min regains consciousness and also points his gun at Saktae, who in turn threatens to kill Youngju. Saktae ultimately shoots Jong-min dead and warns Hwayi that he will kill Youngju next. Not willing to lose the woman who has been like a mother to him, Hwayi kneels down and pleads with Saktae not to harm her. Saktae approaches Hwayi, promising to do anything for him from now on. However, Hwayi is merely feigning compliance and ultimately kills Saktae, who dies with a smile, satisfied that his son has become the monster he desired. Sometime later, as a token of appreciation for taking care of his mother, Hwayi gifts Yu-kyung a camera. Upon discovering that CEO Jin orchestrated his parents' murder, Hwayi infiltrates the crowd and eliminates the man. The movie concludes with Hwayi visiting Youngju at the hospital, and she smiles at him,